We're going to clean up this country. No more corruption. No more cheating with European Union funds. This is the pledge of the conservative Bulgarian government that took office last summer. Its ambition is to improve the country's capacity to absorb EU money. Teodora, an accountant, would really like to see the public authorities make good on the promise to clean up Bulgaria. Soon, please. She's expecting her third child. It would help to have things working properly around the house. The toilets are a problem. Where Teodora lives is not hooked up to the urban sewage drainage system, and this is the capital, Sofia. Septic tanks and so on do the job for thousands of people, but when there are complications it gets messy. Teodora puts a question to her teenage son.
Bobby, don't you find it strange that here we are living in the 21st century and don't have drainage? That construction machines are arriving in our neighborhood to help us only now?
Well, it took them long enough. I don't know who's responsible, but it shouldn't be like this. When I was small, it really bothered me. We've only had indoor toilets for about 5 years now, and they're still not connected to the main network. I'm embarrassed when I have friends over.
You're 16, and soon you're going to have another little brother. I'm afraid that if the building work drags on, he's also going to grow up in appalling conditions. We can only hope.
Teodora's apprehension is well-founded. Bulgaria's track record for launching projects and completing them is lousy. The way the previous government did things continues to jeopardize 1.3 billion euros of funding for water projects. For instance, one audit showed a more than €500,000 difference between the cost given on paper and the true market price. The contracts had to be renegotiated. Improper practices like this bring delay.
We're in an ecologically catastrophic state in this part of town for want of proper sewage connection. We get septic tanks overflowing and excrement in the streets.
There is currently €5.5 billion available for Bulgaria's infrastructure projects from the EU, but the country has proved capable of putting only 90 million of this to work, 1.6% of the funds. The European Commission finds Bulgaria's extremely low level of practical financial administrative competence worrisome. The new government has appointed a minister to tackle streamlining bureaucracy.
We wanted to guarantee strict control of spending co-financed by the EU, and processes became too bureaucratic. Some procedures are taking abnormally long, and it's unacceptable. It seems justified to me that national structures involved in unjustified delays should undergo a sanction, for instance, be made to pay when they miss deadlines.
A few days before our appointment with the government's environment and water people, sources inside the European Commission told us they had a suspicion of irregular procurement involving possible kickbacks based on inflated budgets and manipulated tenders. We asked the Deputy Minister about this.
The contracts were signed by the previous management of this ministry. Some of the projects were amended, others were terminated, and from now on there are strict rules and methodology to be followed by all beneficiaries.
Where there's muck, there's gold, the saying goes. Rebuilding a whole country's sewage system is a lucrative opportunity. This year's international trade fair, Water Sofia, lured companies from 29 countries. Bulgaria is still learning the EU procurement rules. Most project funding suspensions were because the public offer of contracts wasn't open. Direct negotiation with interested parties was systematic.
I can rule out categorically any ongoing abuse of tender procedures. The use of mechanisms other than open tendering has been completely stopped.
It's a promise of a fresh start. The new EU funds minister comes from Gabrovo, an industrial city 3 hours' drive from Sofia. We went to find out how it's doing. While the minister was the mayor here, the administration demonstrated a competence matched by very few others in Bulgaria, including Sofia. Gabrovo's budget is equivalent to roughly 17 million euros, and yet it has 15 EU-funded projects running which are worth around 70 million euros. Water is a serious concern here. Two-thirds of Bulgaria's water is wasted through leaking. Most of the national network has been neglected for several decades. Some of Gabrovo's waterworks date from the 18th century, and industrial activity is especially hard on pipes and treatment systems.
Our fight is to bring better water with enough quality. The reason could be summarized in one figure: 80% losses and leakages.
As an EU member since 2007, the latest and poorest with Romania, Bulgaria must comply with EU wastewater law. The city councils want to build 430 sewage plants in 5 years.
This facility was built 30 years ago, and in wintertime it freezes and stops the process of water treatment.
Or how about this institutional home for old people on the edge of town? 36 of them live 5 to a room. It's not just space they're short of. This pensioner is 85.
We don't have good living conditions here. We're missing sanitation. And there's no lift. To get a glass of water at night or to go to the toilet, we have to go downstairs to the first floor. We're on the 3rd floor.
In a few weeks, Dragoana and company will move to a new home closer to downtown Gabrovo. It's fully adapted for their physical condition. It's 80% EU financed. In contrast to many other Bulgarian municipalities, Gabrovo is making good use of EU funds. If this money is not used, it is forfeited. Bulgaria needs to learn fast, because the credit's available for a limited time only. Use it or lose it. Restructuring, competence and transparency will be the keynotes.